Welcome to Cannabis Friends and 420 Buds. I am Al Morenton.
I'm Megan Hall.
And we are the hosts of Cannabis Friends and 420 Buds. How you doing today, Megan? I'm super excited for today's episode.
Same.
Awesome.
Today's episode is very special to Al's heart. We are dedicating a full episode to RSO and FECO and to clear any confusion for those that are taking it and for those that are new. And I will say this right now, that I consider Al the Nikola Tesla of cannabis oil. So this is huge. He knows this topic so well, and I'm excited to dive into this with you. Al, are you ready?
Yep.
All right.
Definitely.
Let's start out. What is RSO? Like, give us the breakdown.
So RSO, pretty much it looks like this. It's a thick, sticky, gooey, like almost tar-like substance. It's a cannabis oil, but it's a specific extraction process. And if you've done any research online and heard success stories about cannabis oil, it's most likely from a Rick Simpson oil, also known as full extract cannabis oil. So it basically is an extraction process that pulls out the majority and the most cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, isoflavones, and other phytonutrients as compared to any other extraction process. So there's more nutrition in this specific extraction process than others, and that's why it works so well.
What is the difference between RSO and FECO?
Okay, so you hear those two terms a lot, and for those that maybe haven't heard of one or the other, like RSO is Rick Simpson oil, FECO is full extract cannabis oil. And what I like to say is all Rick Simpson oil is full extract cannabis oil, but not all full extract cannabis oil is Rick Simpson oil. Okay, so Rick Simpson is a person that he made this style of extraction super popular, like several years back. And he took it to a certain point, and the thing that he brought to the forefront was the alcohol extraction. And the alcohol, it has a dual polarity, whereas other solvents do not. Alcohol is a solvent that pulls out the cannabinoids and other nutrients from the plant. So other solvents, they have what is known as a single polarity, and the dual polarity just obviously pulls out more. Okay, so we won't get into the science of it, but just know that that's a deal. So there's so other solvents, that pull out, the extract from the plant. They could be a full extract cannabis oil for that solvent. So like CO2 extraction or butane extraction, or even solventless extraction, right? But they'll only pull out a certain amount of the components. The alcohol extractions will pull out that dual polarity, pull out more of those components, and that's what's typically called an RSO, a Rick Simpson oil. And so I've taken it a little bit further, to make it a little bit more pure, pristine, and keep more of the nutrients intact.
So that was my next question. I wanted to ask, so explain MOVIDA oils versus traditional RSO. Break it down for us, because this MOVIDA oils is your baby. This is your product, your work, your extraction process up into giving it to your clients. What is MOVIDA oils?
Okay, so with the RSO, what we just explained was that you need to have an alcohol extraction to pull out, the most components and have the most viable oil to overcome your situation. So Rick Simpson, he used like naphtha and this isopropyl alcohols, and then it slowly evolved into where people started using ethanol and grain alcohols, and they used them, and they still to this day use them. And they'll buy things like Everclear, which is like 190 proof, 95%, pure alcohol, and they'll use that to extract, and that's like better than the isopropyl, but using a pure ethanol as opposed to getting like a grain alcohol that you could buy at a liquor store or something like that. It's easy access. That's why the isopropyl back in the day was easy access. And today, like a grain alcohol that's a spirit, like you can buy at a liquor store, those are easy access. A pure ethanol, which is what I use, a 200 proof, 100% pure anhydrous ethanol. Anhydrous meaning there's no water, nothing else. It's just 100% pure ethanol. That you have to sort of have like special licensing and buy from special lab entities and stuff like that. And there's taxes and regulations federally and all this kind of stuff to acquire them. So not everybody has access to the 200 proof, 100% pure
Ethanol.
ethanol. So I do because I work a lab and all that kind of stuff. So we use that, and it's better than the grain alcohol because it's not pure. It's 190 proof, 95% pure, right? So the ethanol we use, it's 100%, 200 proof. And just as a little side note, a lot of the ethanol, like a majority of the ethanol that's used in cannabis and hemp extractions all across the nation and all across the world isn't 100% pure. All right, like 95 to 99% of it is that 95% pure. But they don't use. But in professional cannabis, extraction facilities, they're not going to use a grain spirit like that. They're going to use a more traditional bastardized version is what I'll call it. So it's 95% of what I use, that pure ethanol. It's probably not organic, but it's a 95% pure ethanol.
Mm-hmm.
But the other 5% is usually a heptane or a hexane, which are very toxic solvents, and they are known to cause cancer and stuff like that. But it brings the price down to about half or less than half of what it would normally cost. So it's it's a monetary kind of a thing. So you have to be sure that if you're talking to somebody, they're truly using 100% pure, 200 proof anhydrous ethanol for the extraction process, and it's just more pure, and it has more of the constituents in it. And then another thing that's different about ours is that my extraction equipment, I pieced it together, put it together myself, and we extract under vacuum. So the boiling point for ethanol is about 186 degrees Fahrenheit, and the boiling point for like cannabinoids and things is higher than that. So you could boil off the ethanol and get the pure oil and not really harm too much of this of the harm. You won't harm the cannabinoids and most of the other terpenes, isoflavones, flavonoids, and all that kind of stuff. But you will damage a little bit. I am able to extract at like right about 90 to just under 100 degrees, 90 to about 98 degrees. So roughly half of what the boiling point is in the regular environment. So doing it under vacuum brings it down to about half. So I'm extracting at that 90, like let's just say 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So that keeps everything, including the enzymes, active, right? Because enzymes get destroyed at 118 degrees Fahrenheit plus, right? So we're able to keep more nutrients active than just those, cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, isoflavones, etc. That we're keeping the enzymes active, and which help to break down and utilize all of the constituents in the plant, itself, in your body. So it adds more nutrition to your body. It's super, super awesome.
So you basically taken RSO and you've now up-leveled it to MOVIDA oils in a way that's pure, has all the necessary essential nutrients in there, not taken out, and you oversee all of that yourself, correct?
Yep. Yeah, and we're always we're always trying to make it better, not better and bastardize it, just better for the sake of making it better, but actually seeing an improvement, because I depend on it. I depend on it for my eyesight, right?
Right.
So like this recently, in this last month, I was able to improve the filtration process, of the oil, and also the decarboxylation process of the oil, which is when you make the oil psychoactive and stuff like that, and bring out some other constituents from it, and it's a heating process, and that typically is a higher heating process as well. Some people will use like 180 degrees, 220, 240, but you're going to destroy the higher it is, the shorter the process, but the more components that can be destroyed, aside from the cannabinoids. And that entourage process that people talk about sometimes, where everything's working together, it's not just all the cannabinoids working together, it's the other components within the plant working together as well. So if we destroy those, then you're destroying some of the essential properties of it.
Right.
So I figured out how to decarboxylate in a dehydrator, right? And I'm able to bring the temperature down from like a 240 or 220 down to like a 120, right? So it's right at the threshold where enzymes are still viable. You know, that 118 or so. You know, so it keeps way more of the components viable as well. You know, and I'm able to more completely decarboxylate it too. I'm able to control it better because it's almost like it's undervalued. It's in a dehydration process, and it's just it's super awesome. So these last few batches that I've made recently has just been off the charts. I even compared one using the same material. I did two separate batches, one with the old way and one with the new way. And the one with the new way, even with the same exact material, it came out slightly better. And slightly better is always awesome in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so this is amazing. And as we look into this, can we talk about MOVIDA oils and the endocannabinoid system and just how those fit together?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's something that's super important. It's the as far as I actually have a diagram up here that shows the endocannabinoid system, right? So so every mammal, that has a vertebrae, a spine, has an endocannabinoid system that needs to be fed with cannabinoids, right?
Right.
And the endocannabinoid system, it's basically responsible for homeostasis in your body. And homeostasis it basically means balance. So your hormones balance, like not just one hormone, but all the different hormones in your body, are released and in the proper amounts so they get that certain balance. And the same thing with everything, with every other system in your body. It helps to balance them out so they function properly. And when things get out of balance, that's when disease processes start to happen. So you can see these dots over in the picture, right? Like some of them are lighter and some of them are darker, but those dots, they basically represent cannabinoid receptors that we have within our body. So they are everywhere. They're in our skin. They're our third dermal layer down. So we have them everywhere. That's why topicals work so well at point of contact, because we have cannabinoid receptors all over our skin. Like wherever we have skin, we have cannabinoid receptors. And then deeper down, we have them in our muscles, in our organs, like in my eyes, in our eyes,
Right.
in our brain, we have them. We have crazy amounts of them in our brain, and even in our bone marrow, we have it, which is where all our cells are made. So they're everywhere. So they're super important for regulating all these different systems and functions in our body. And without cannabinoids, your body doesn't basically have the instructions on how to operate properly. So that's why people malfunction, and that's why our world is in the world of hurt that it is, as far as sickness and disease. How it's run rampant.
You have built MOVIDA oils to really abide by the protocol of our endocannabinoid system, is basically what you're telling us.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's one of those things where homeostasis, when I was in college, because I've taken crazy amounts, of science classes, undergrad, postgrad, all that kind of stuff. And homeostasis was always like, the unicorn. It's something to strive for, but could never be achieved. But at the same time, they never even mentioned the endocannabinoid system, right?
I never heard of it.
And the endocannabinoid system is being fed with cannabinoids is how you achieve homeostasis. And if we were to look it up to verify that, you would see that there's actual documentation and studies proving that. But they pretend in school like that doesn't exist, and that they don't know how to achieve homeostasis, and that you just take medication to make yourself feel better from symptoms and not actually be able to overcome conditions, because there's no way to achieve homeostasis.
Right.
So that being said, like the only way to overcome a condition is to achieve homeostasis. So your body could heal itself. And that's through supplementation with cannabinoids. Other things too, but the cannabinoids are the missing link, to optimal health.
Agreed. So how would one administer the protocol for success in taking MOVIDA oils based off of what condition they have? Can you break down that for us, please?
Yeah, sure, for sure. So there's this thing you'll hear a lot, like the RSO protocol, or the Rick Simpson Oil protocol or dosing guide. And the traditional way, I've developed my own a way to do it, and there's specific reason for it. But typically, the way you would see it online, if you were to look it up, is to take like the size of a grain of rice, however much that is, because that could be subjective, right? and then you just do that for 4 days, and then you double that, like just visually, like 2 grains of rice, and then you do that for 4 days, and then double that, and then just keep on doubling every 4 days until you reach the entire gram, right? And a lot of times you'll have applicators, that are 1 gram, so you'll know that you reach the gram when you finish, per day when you're doing 1 applicator per day, right? And so that is a way to do it, and you can be successful that way. There's many people that have been successful that way for sure. But what I've found over time is that people that are familiar with cannabis and even familiar with RSO, but just mainly is familiar with cannabis or even just with holistic health, like they'll do that doubling and whatever, and they'll go for that. But the mainstream people, that are coming in, that maybe they're not interested in cannabis really, but they have this condition now and they want to get healthy and they heard about this stuff. They're more used to taking supplements and taking medications that are like, take this many milligrams of this or whatever. So I developed a way to do it by exact measured doses with milligrams. So people that are used to doing that, they're more apt to start, and then it's easier to ramp up that way and not like guess and then get to where the dosage that you want to do, for the period of time and stay there. I found that people, when they have the milligram strengths to strive for, and have a little chart as well, that they get there. They don't quit along the way, and so because doing it and ingesting this stuff is how you're going to get better. So if you quit along the way, it's not good. So this thing actually gets people to get on the protocol, number one, and then stay on it. Which is the key. So what I do is start off super small, which is at 50 milligrams for 3 days, because we're talking the high THC version, with the RSO, the Rick Simpson Oil, and there is a high CBD version that I developed, which we'll talk about in a bit. But with the high THC version, even just the smallest amount can get you high. Right. So like a grain of rice, that's usually about 100 milligrams or so. So I start off even a little bit smaller than that, 50 milligrams. You'll still get high, but not as much. And even if you did, it won't last quite as long, because it's not as much. So you do that for 3 days, and what's written down, the 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams, that's per day and not per dose, right? So it's per day. So throughout the whole day, you would take 50 milligrams, do that for 3 days, and then you would go up to 100 milligrams per day for 3 days, and then go up to 200 milligrams per day for 3 days, and then just do that. Just move up 100 milligrams at a time for every 3 days. Okay. So, and then eventually you'll get to that gram a day, which is the typical Rick Simpson Oil protocol.
Copy that. Why spread out the doses? Why slowly ramp up?
So there's a couple different reasons why, and one of them is to minimize those psychoactive effects, right? Because like you do have the option of just starting out, because so the Rick Simpson Oil protocol, typically you're working up to a gram a day to overcome a major condition, and you do that for like anywhere from 30, 45 to 60, 90 days, but usually a minimum of 30 days, and beyond, until you overcome, what's going on. Right. So you're working up to that 1,000 milligrams or a gram a day. 1,000 milligrams equals a gram. So, but if you were to just start day one at 1,000 milligrams, like, you would get blasted out of your mind. Like even if you're used to getting high and you smoke weed every day, you would get so blasted out of your mind that like probably 90% of the people would just, I'm not doing that again.
Right. Exactly.
Like they would quit. So so doing it slowly, starting off small and ramping up, it helps to minimize the psycho effects, and then it also ensures maximum absorption too. So if you were to take 1,000 milligrams, because this stuff, it costs money, right? And you're doing it for the long haul. So and you don't want to waste it. So if you were to take 1,000 milligrams without ever been taking it before, then you'll just your body won't absorb all that. Your body will absorb a limited amount and just get rid of the rest. And like, you think about like when you take a multivitamin for the first time, and you go pee, and it's like neon yellow. you
Yeah.
know, because you're peeing out most of it, and
Totally.
then because you're not used, your body's not used to absorbing it. But then, like a week or two later, you know, that same one, your pee is not as neon yellow. It's just like it's yellow, but it's not nearly as much because you're absorbing most of it now.
Right.
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 So the same thing, if you start off slower and ramp up, then you're only going to absorb a certain amount. So starting off slower, you're going to absorb that, and then ramping up, you're going to be able to absorb as much as possible and not waste any. So that's another thing. And then you'll also get to understand how your body chemistry reacts to it. You know, because some people the way they get high and the way they handle a high, you know, because they might be used to it or not, you know, and they uh, um, they might get like a panic attack or some kind of a thing, right, going on. And if that happens, then and you took that full gram all at once, then you'd be on that for a long time. You know,
Right.
if it happens with 50 milligrams, it's going to happen at way less of a degree, and it'll end way sooner. You know, so if you are one of those people that gets scared or you know a little bit, which happens, you know, with getting high and you don't know what's going on, you know, like your heart rate could literally like speed up, you know, all this kind of stuff. So, so it's just a safety measure, you know. And then also the one of the main things too is what, you know, I've developed a lot of protocols over the years, you know, through different case studies for different conditions, not just cancer and
Right.
not just these, you know,
Right.
leukemia or something that's hardcore or glaucoma. There's other things, you know, from chronic pain to anxiety, stress, depression, and all kinds of things, you know, gout, you know, all kinds of things. So you might not need to go up to that full gram. You know, you might not need to go up to 200 or 400 or 600 milligrams. And with the other one, you're just like visually doubling, you know, this pile, you know, that then you don't, it doesn't give you the opportunity to ramp up to a certain milligram string. This does. You're going from 100 to 200 to 300.
Right.
So I like with my you know, with my condition, you know, I got a protocol from MyFit Life or MOVIDA, and they said that I should work up to 400 milligrams. So on this chart, I'll just do this. I'll just do the chart up to the 400 milligram spot, and I'll stop there, and I'll stay there, you know, for however long, and we'll monitor that and whatever, you know. So it gives you the opportunity to stop short of that 1,000 milligrams, you know, if your condition warrants that, you know.
Right.
So does that make sense?
It does make sense. And so basically, if someone were watching this that had anxiety, their dosage would probably be at a 50 to 100 milligram level where they would work their way up to 100 milligrams and stay consistent on that. Versus someone with glaucoma like yourself goes up to 900 to 1,000 and then works their way up through the protocol that we're looking at the screen up each 3 days, moving up to that point and then maintaining that till X amount of time. Correct? Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yep.
Love it. How okay, so let's say we have potential people watching that like, oh, I have this condition. How to take MOVIDA oils? Like there's various options. Can we go through the syringe, tincture, capsule, suppository options? Like give us a breakdown and then I'll make sure you hit each one. How do you take it in a syringe? Like that one is a popular one.
Okay. So let me I'll pull out the thing for a second. So yeah, there's syringes, and that's the typical way that you would see it, and that's
Yeah.
with the typical RSO protocol, and that's where you do the grain of rice, and you double it just visually, you know, because it's not a tincture or a capsule that has a specific measured dose. You know, you look at the lines on here and sort of guesstimate it a little bit, but it's more of, you know, just getting this raw oil out there. So the one thing about the syringes is it's the raw oil. There's no carrier oil mixed with it like that you would find in a capsule and a tincture. And some people like that a lot, you know, and you would typically either put it on your tongue, or you could put it on some people put it on like a wax paper, and you know, because it's hard to measure the dose out, and sometimes, you know, like you have to look in the mirror and put it on your tongue. So they'll put it on wax paper or something, and so they can see the dose, and then they'll put that in the refrigerator, and it hardens up, and then you can just peel the dose off and pop it down your throat. You know, so it's a little bit easier to manage. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. You know, so the syringe is one way. That this is like a 10-gram syringe. Let's see. I have a bunch of them over here. Like this is a 5-gram syringe. You know, it's 5,000 milligrams, 10,000 milligrams, and then there's actual like 1 gram syringes, which are sort of popular as well.
Right.
And I have one here for demo purposes it's one of the ones I actually use. But and then so that's the syringes, and then the like I said, that's the raw oil, and then there's capsules. Let me see. So they look like this, like this, like a normal capsule. They're dark like the Rick Simpson oil, but they're infused into a carrier oil. I use a MCT oil and a full spectrum MCT oil. It's like not just one like the C8 or whatever.
Right.
It has all of them, and inulin, all these different components in there which just that MCT oil by itself is awesome. But being infused into the capsule, the advantages of a capsule is it's an exact measured dose. Right, so you know exactly what you're taking. So it's a grab and go kind of a thing. You don't even have to count out drops like you do in a tincture, right? And it has the carrier oil in it, which the carrier oil, the MCT oil, if you take it on an empty stomach, then it'll bypass your digestive system, your digestive tract, and just get absorbed straight up into your liver. And so people that have digestive issues, it helps with them that way. We actually developed it that way for some military guys that had like part of their intestines and stomach blown out when they were in Afghanistan, and stuff like that. So and they couldn't do it that way. So we developed ways for them to, they had colostomy bags and stuff like that. So we developed ways for them to be able to absorb it straight up into their liver and get this benefit and the pain, the PTSD, and all these different kinds of things. And it was super successful, and we just kept it for everybody, and it works super, super well. So the carrier oil is not just a cool name. It is actually named a carrier oil because it helps to carry the RSO up into your body, right? So it's because your body is able to absorb the MCT oil really, really easily, and we actually infuse the RSO or MOVIDA oils into the MCT oil, so it becomes a part of it. A lot of the tinctures that you see out there, for instance, they'll say shake well before use. That's because they didn't infuse it in there and it separates. Ours, you could have it on the shelf for 5 years and come do it and not have to shake it because ours is actually a part of, like it's actually infused in. Nice. Other people just mix things together and say they're infused when they're not. It's interesting. But yeah, so that's the capsules, and it's an exact measured dose, but it's just that dose. So it's like 25 milligrams or 50 milligrams. Then if you want to take more, then you're jumping up in those increments, right? So it is, yeah, yep. So that's so that's the advantage and disadvantages of that is exact measured dose, grab and go. So the one cool thing I'll mention real quick before we go on to the tinctures is that with the capsules too, you don't have to take your whole thing with you. So like right. if you go on vacation or go away for the day, and you spend the night somewhere and you need to take the syringe with you, you're taking the whole syringe with you, right? If you have a tincture, you're taking that whole bottle with you, which but with the capsules, you could just get like a little travel bottle and just take 5 or 10 capsules with you and not take your whole bottle. So if you lose the little travel bottle, you still have the rest at home. Right. But if you lose your tincture or your syringe, you just lost all your stuff. Right. So that's another advantage of the capsules. And then the tinctures. Yeah. So we have tinctures, and the thing about the tincture is that it needs to be in a concentrated enough form, like not just have the RSO in there, but be in a concentrated enough form to have the beneficial effects. So we've figured that out with the capsules, and then with this is actually 10 grams in this. It's a large bottle. It's a 50 milliliter bottle, which is almost 2 ounces. The other bottles are an ounce, the regular tincture bottles. So it's a little bit bigger, but there's 10 grams, 10,000 milligrams in here, right? So one of the bigger syringes, like it's like this bottle has this entire 10-gram syringe in it. So like just like one drop is super potent, right? But having that super ultra potency is one of the things that gives the tincture its effect, because we have tinctures that are 1,000 milligrams that are in an ounce, so it's way more highly diluted, and people have benefit with that, but when they aren't getting the exact benefit they need, we put them on one that's more concentrated, and they get it. They get that benefit. It's really awesome. So the advantage with the tincture is it's in that carrier oil, the same carrier oil, the MCT oil that's in the capsules, you know. And you can do exact measured doses with it by just doing the certain number of drops. So for instance, with this thing, a full dropper, which is 30 drops, is 200 milligrams. So a half dropper, 15 drops is 100 milligrams. Like half of that's 7.5. So you just round up to 8. So 8 drops is slightly over 50 milligrams, but you could adjust it, like and ramp up and down, just by the number of drops you use. So it allows you to do that ramping up just like the capsules do, very easily with exact measured doses. But you could with the capsules, you either have a 25 or a 50 milligrams. So if you got the 50 milligrams, you're just jumping up 50 milligrams at a time. With this, you could jump up a drop at a time, which is like just under 6.5 milligrams. So you could jump up 6.5 milligrams at a time. It's right. So go from 25 to 30 something, you do 50, 60 something, 70 something, whatever, you could do that. So it has a little bit more versatility as far as the amount that you could deliver, but it's not as grab and go easy as a capsule,
Right.
But so both of those are infused into carrier oils. And again, just as a reminder, the ones that are in the syringes are in the raw oil, just like the paste of it, the resin basically. And then there's suppositories. Okay. And suppositories are, you take those rectally, and that's what a suppository is used as. You do not use suppositories orally, you do them rectally. So you either do them in a traditional suppository mold, right? It's almost like if you go on Amazon or wherever, you could see these trays, or like a drugstore with it. You would see them too. They usually have them, and they're trays almost like ice cube trays, and you pour in like some kind of almost like a carrier oil, like a coconut oil or a cacao, or not a coconut oil, a coconut butter or a cacao butter, because it's a little bit more sturdy, and because you're shoving it up there, right? And so you get that, and then you get the syringe and inject however much you want into each of the molds, and then put those in the refrigerator. They'll harden up, and then you can put them, up your bum, right? And use them as a suppository. The other way to do it, so some people don't like to do that. Like I just sold a full 60-gram protocol to a chiropractor in Las Vegas, and he prefers to do them rectally because you don't get as high. It's a way to minimize the high of it. And but he just gets the 1 gram syringe. Because I was like, I have 5 grams, 10 grams. He's like, no, I want 1 gram. And he wants 1 gram because he just puts this up his bum, and then just puts the whole gram, and he does it all at once. And he does them that way, and it just gets on with his life. And so that's the 2 ways to do a suppository: through the mold or just through a 1 gram syringe and just just press the plunger.
Is there a most popular, like out of all your orders, like who is there one that beats the rest? Is there one that's more popular than the other? The syringe versus a capsule or tincture?
For first-time buyers, for first-time people, the syringes are because that's what they see online, and they hear so much stuff about all the fake RSO that's out there, which is a deal. That's a big deal. That they want to get it in as pure form as possible. And just like I always mention that we use ethanol extracted, whatever, but people always still ask me that, do you use ethanol, whatever, or what solvent do you use and stuff like that. So as far as first-time users that have never used it before, they'll choose this. But seasoned pros that have been taking it for the long haul, and that have actually overcome a condition, and need to maintain, when they try a tincture or a capsule, they're pretty much sold on that, because it's not like, trying to do whatever. Like they've already gone through all that, all the glamour with that's over, and they just want to just maintain these awesome results and just feel great. Like they want to feel fantastic, and it's just so much easier having the exact measured dose. So this tincture right here is the most popular product, or way to take the RSO that we have over here at MOVIDA MyFitLife.
And one of the things that you do for every customer is you make sure that you give a full breakdown as to when they order a certain product. If it's a tincture to the syringe, you give them the breakdown of how to use it. And if they have questions, they're comfortable asking you. You always make sure that they know how to take your product.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So we give free consultations to people, to so you could they could figure out if it's for them or not, kind of a thing, and they make the decision to
Right.
try it. But I've developed different protocols for different conditions, and so we provide people with the protocols, on how much to take and how to ramp up as well. You
Right.
know.
So that leads me to my next question. How much MOVIDA oil should I take for my current situation? Is there like a chart, something that you can show us?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
And let me share the screen again. Okay, and I believe I have a chart here. Okay, yeah. So the dosing guide. All right. So there's a variety of conditions that that it helps with, because pretty much most of the conditions, most of the disease processes, and all these different kinds of things that you hear about, in my eyes, they're basically just a cannabinoid deficiency, and people manifest the symptoms different ways. Different people will manifest the symptoms different ways, by and it comes from anxiety, stress, depression, like what the it's not simple, but I'll just say it for lack of a better term, but it's more simple things. And then people get more hardcore conditions as they go down the road. But those are just basically symptoms of the cannabinoid deficiency, because when you feed your body with the cannabinoids, the condition mysteriously goes away,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and it takes different strengths, different levels for it, depending on how far along you are, how far, so certain conditions like dry skin, you're getting sick, with the seasons. And then, like I said, anxiety, stress, depression, panic attacks, those kinds of things. Those are like the first levels, because there's different levels of health and disease. So those are the first levels. So those could be taken care of with lower dosages generally. Okay. And there's ranges. It's not like a specific one strength that's going to help this one thing. Okay.
Right.
Like they do it with allopathic medicine. So there's different ranges, and it has to do mainly with your biology. Okay, like how your body reacts to the stuff. So certain people, they only need a little bit to get these massive results, and
Right.
other people, they need a bunch. I'm one of the outliers that needs a bunch to get certain results. So the anxiety, stress, depression, panic attacks, and people that are trying to maintain health, people that feel pretty good but don't want to go backwards, they feel like they're going to start to do that, they would be generally in 50 to 100 milligrams per day, and you would split that up into two separate doses: 25 milligrams, 25 milligrams, 50 milligrams, 50 milligrams, right? And then there's people that have a little bit more going on, like pain. Well, with the 50 to 100 milligrams too, there's people that are going into like the little aches, with aging and things like that.
Yeah.
That could be taken care of a lot of times with the 50 to 100 milligrams as well. Like it's pretty amazing. But the 200 to 400 milligrams, that's where people will start to get into things like chronic pain, migraines, like neuropathies, like numbness, and like tingling, and that little hot knife kind of feelings. A lot of times will be in the feet, or like sciatica, where it runs down, like the backside of your backside, or down your hip, all the way down to your leg and your feet. Then there's things like high blood pressure, glaucoma, certain cancers, and heart disease, things like that. A lot of times those things could be helped with 200 to 400 milligrams. That's sort of a mid-range, sometimes a little bit more, but roughly 200 to 400 milligrams, about 90% of the people could be helped within there. And then for there's like the more hardcore conditions, and then some of the conditions that we just mentioned that are further along down the path. So like maybe you have this certain cancer, but now you're in stage 4. Like we're not messing around with 200 to 400. We're going like 1,000. Like we're going the full gram. Sometimes even more than that. Just to do a full frontal assault, because they're trying to do that on you. So there's like glaucoma, where you're actually starting to lose your vision, and everything's getting cloudy and all that kind of stuff. 600 to 1,000 milligrams for sure. Those cancer that's attacking you, and it's going into serious things. And then post surgery, like you just had any kind of surgery or injury, that you need to want to recover from and recover fully, like 110% kind of a thing, then you take the higher amounts for a period of time, and it's not usually not that long because you're just overcoming this thing. It might be a month or two, maybe 3 at the most, but usually a month or two, and then you go down into a maintenance phase after that. So and then for hospice as well. So hospice is basically like most people over here go into hospice because of cancer, but there's different reasons why people go into that. But it's basically an end of life kind of a thing where they just try to make the person comfortable, before they go onto the other side. And a lot of times they're in massive amounts of pain, like crazy amounts of pain, and their family is hurting, they're hurting, like it's all just an emotional mess. And when one of the most aggravating things is the morphine that they're given, through the hospitals or whatever, through the hospice facility, it stops working for the person. And they're still in crazy pain and on morphine. And I like to say, like, the RSO keeps working when the morphine stops.
Right.
So it actually helps people to be more comfortable. And sometimes they'll stop like eating and stop doing all kinds of stuff, and so it helps them to have an appetite and help, certain things, to just help them be more comfortable and to be able to go out more gracefully, and so those are the different scenarios for that. I could give you a couple case studies for those.
Yes.
Do as well.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's so one of the people that there's a guy named Grampy Pat, right? He is an artisan bread maker that I met, in my endeavors in Orange County, California. And, and I was seeking out like healthy bread. He had this super healthy bread, and his brother had some ailments, and I helped him. And his son had his ailments, I helped him. I ended up helping I think it was 17 of his closest friends, right? And family to overcome stuff. And he's like, I don't really have too much going on, but I think I'll try some. So what should I take? And I just want to I don't want to go backwards. He was in his 70s at that time. Right. And so I gave him, I just had him do the minimum 50 milligrams a day, right? 25 and 25. And I just didn't think anything of it. About 3 weeks later, I go to the farmer's market in the city of Orange, and I see the paramedics there. And I'm like, I hope that's not for Grampy Pat. And I go to his thing, and the pie maker from next door is at his booth. And I'm like, what happened to Grampy Pat? Oh, did you see the paramedics? They took him away. And I'm like, oh shit. So so he went there because they thought he had a heart attack a couple years earlier, and they thought he was having one again because he felt lightheaded. So he had said he felt really healthy, but he'll just take it just in case, right? But he had a heart attack earlier, so he's obviously not healthy, And so he went to the doctor. They determined that his he was healthy. It's just that his blood pressure had been brought down because he was on blood pressure medication, and it brought his blood pressure down too low. So he went to the doctor that next week, his regular doctor, and they tested his blood pressure, and he didn't need the blood pressure medication anymore. So they took him off his blood pressure medication, and we figured out that was because of the of the what you call the cannabis oils he was taking.
Yeah.
So the cannabis oils helps to normalize blood pressure. And so we weren't even trying to do that, and he didn't even tell me that he was on blood pressure medication, right? Or they had high blood pressure. So but since then, there's over 100 people that have told me that they've been taken off their blood pressure medication after being on our protocols.
Right.
And I even tell people that now, if you're on blood pressure medication, if you start to feel lightheaded, go to the doctor and see if you still need to be on it, because it can normalize your blood pressure. And then if you do that and you're taking the blood pressure medication, then you'll feel lightheaded because it's taking it too low, at that point, because it's normal and now it's taking it too low. So that's the 50 to 100 milligram. Oh yeah, by the way, with him, he continued to take it. And then so he was on also some heart medication as well, because they because the flow of his heart or whatever was off, and through some readings and tests and findings. So he was on heart medication as well. So about 2 or 3 months after Grampy Pat was taken off the blood pressure medication,
right,
he went back to the doctor for a checkup, and they took him off his heart medication. So he said he was totally fine, but he was on 4 medications. He was on 2 blood pressure medications and 2 heart medications. And so he's like, hey, I feel great. I'm chasing my wife around like I'm 20 years old again, right? You know, because that's one of the things that helps with too. I'm off my blood pressure medication, 2 of them. I'm off both my heart medications, and all I'm doing is taking 1 in the morning and 1 at night. I didn't change my diet. I'm still drinking my craft beers with the boys on the weekends at the at the pub or whatever. And
Right.
you know, he goes, I don't know what to tell you. He goes, this stuff's awesome. You know, so that's the 50 to 100 milligram. The 200 to 400 milligram, you know, there's this there's that one gentleman that had that hardcore neck pain, and well, it's Stephen. He was in a motorcycle accident, and Stephen Byer, and he you know him, and he went to his glass shop in Long Beach and stuff like that. And he actually started carrying our product, the MOVIDA, and became the MOVIDA distributor in Long Beach because of the success he got. But he got in this motorcycle accident, and afterwards he felt this grinding pain, and he didn't have like a sharp pain. He had like a dull pain, and this super grinding. Like he said, he could feel it and he could hear it, and it was just so annoying. And he never had that before, but you know, after the accident, and then he did have that pain, and he had some other stuff like little low back issues, you know, just things from life. But I had him, you know, go on because we did the the street art fair together, remember? And he was showing the glass pieces there, those high-end glass pieces. And so he was right next to me where he had set up. So I gave him some of the product, and he was like, "Man, this stuff feels good," you know. I was talking to somebody about how I have like no pain. It's nice. So I wish I was like that. It's like, well, you just started, you know, and you know, just talk to me a little bit. So about 6 months after that, he came to me, and he's like, he goes, you were right. I don't have any pain now. He goes, I was just being impatient, you know, but I was, you know, I did what you said, be patient, persistent, consistent with the efforts, you know, I don't miss a day, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I didn't let him because he was a distributor by that point. And I would visit him, you know, all the time and talk to him on the phone, you know, like weekly. And, you know, and always say, are you doing your stuff? And, and he was doing like, you know, anywhere from 200 to 400, he was varying it, but he was doing it in there. And he like said, I don't feel the grinding anymore. That's gone. I don't have any that dull pain's gone, and all my other body aches went away, and I actually lost weight. He goes, I didn't have really weight to lose, you know, I didn't look fat, but like I'm not bloated. I didn't even realize I was bloated, but I was holding on to like I was inflamed, and I was holding on to fluids, and those that inflammation went away, so the fluids went away, and I lost weight because of it. And that's a lot of the weight that people lose on our programs is that from the inflammation, because the inflammation goes away and stuff like that. So he's like all these benefits, and then he's like, well, I'll tell you, as I went on vacation and I didn't bring the stuff with me, and after like 3 or 4 days, like the stuff started to come back, and I knew like I knew at that point like it's that stuff is what's you know, doing it. And when I came back, you know, like I started taking the stuff again, and everything's fine again. You know, so I know your stuff works, and so it's crazy awesome. And so I'll use myself as for the 600 to 1,000 milligram thing, because it's important to understand that with certain conditions you could take more and heal them quicker than if you took less. But like so, in other words, like if you had a condition that you could overcome with like 300 milligrams per day, if you took 600 or 1,000 milligrams a day, you would overcome that condition quicker. Okay. But there are certain conditions that if you took 300 milligrams per day, you would not overcome it at all, ever. All right. And you would still, like with myself, I would still eventually go blind, but I would have just prolonged me going blind. You know, I would have had more years of sight, you know. And so, and I discovered that, you know, through trial and error, and actually going blind. you know. So I like to say, like, I went blind, I got my vision back with cannabis oil, and it's like that's the quick way of saying it. But I was going blind, and I figured out how to stop it in its tracks by taking the oils. And then we mentioned in a previous episode where the people that I was having extract for me in San Diego, they sort of lost their soul and were making bad batches, like they were burning up the therapeutic effects. And so I was taking it, and I started going blind, and I was like, holy shit, what's going on? And I was still getting high, but I wasn't, but I was going blind. And then I figured out, that they were making bad oil, figured out how to get good oil, and then started making good oil. And, here we are today, and, and I got my eyesight back and stuff like that. But when I was trying to get my eyesight back, I was doing the maintenance dose, which was right around 600 milligrams. And I was like, I got some of my eyesight back, but I was just like teetering back and forth. And I was literally like going some days where I would lose it in my right eye completely. And there was one day I was living in Hollywood at the time, and I went to the Home Depot on Sunset, and they have a roof parking. I went down to the main floor. I stepped out, and I looked at this little poster, and it was sort of shiny, and boom, both of my eyes went like this shiny blind. So it's not when you go blind, some people might see darkness. I see this like white bright thing, like being like almost in a room where that's with no walls, I mean, with no doors or windows. It's just painted bright white. That's sort of what I see, and that's what I was seeing, but even brighter than normal. And I was like that for almost 30 minutes. And I was just standing there going, oh yeah, just hanging out, and then I got the vision back in my left eye, and then my right eye was just screwed. I was on a little scooter, because I lived near there, and I was like, oh my God. But anyways, I was like, man, I'm taking my stuff. Am I just too far gone now? Like I went blind, because you're not supposed to be able to get your vision back when you go blind from glaucoma. And I have, a couple different times. And so I'm, so I'm all, did I just screw myself? That I'm not able to do it anymore? It's I had my ride, now it's over. And then I figured out, like, hey, back in the day when I got better, I remember when I had those scabs on my forehead, we'll talk about it some other time. I was taking like 1,000 or more milligrams a day back then.
And you were healing very quickly, I remember.
And not 600. So I was like, hey, maybe I need to take 1,000 milligrams again, or more. So I started doing like minimum 1,000, sometimes 1,200, sometimes, whatever, because I have access to it. And I started to get better. Right. So and I got my vision back, and then I started to see like I had again, like better than I had in 10 years and all that kind of stuff. Right. I continue to maintain that, and I've been on, RSO daily, except for a couple of mishaps where I missed like 2 days here or 3 days there, or whatever, for over 10 years, over a decade. And but I still to this day need minimum 600, but like a lot of times if I have like a flare up of some sort, then I'll need that 800 to 1,000, because I'm an outlier. I process through more, and then my condition just warrants more. So other people with glaucoma, some will do good 200 to 400. Like there's about 50% of the people will do good with 200 to 400, but the other half, they need 600 plus, and that could be costly too. So you need to, so with conditions, sometimes you have to be prepared to, put investment into your health, kind of a thing, but yeah. So, but like for those people that need to take that much, they need to take that much to get the success. And if they don't, then they're going to go blind or get whatever their condition is dealing, sometimes it's death, they're going to die, kind of thing, if they don't take enough to get the beneficial effect, So with allopathic medicine, they say let's take the minimum effective dose, right? You hear that a lot, and that's because their stuff, the medical establishment, big pharma, their products have so many side effects that you need to take the minimum effective dose. But with cannabis oils, it's not that way. Minimum effective dose can kill you, make you blind, make you go into pain cycles, whatever. So I go into what we call macro dosing, not micro dosing, and take, and doing a full frontal assault on the condition, and then tapering down into maintenance phase. I actually have that as a visual, if you'd like me to show that.
Yeah.
I believe I should have it here. Yeah, right here. So I developed this a dosing strategy, after, working with myself and then thousands of clients over the years. I'm really good at developing case studies for a number of things. So I tried, all kinds of different things. So whatever I'm saying on these videos is things that I've tried out on myself, tried out on other people, like dozens and dozens, oftentimes hundreds of other people, and tried out different scenarios. So when I say doing it more than one time a day, like splitting up into at least 2 doses, like your daily dose, that's because I've tested out doing 1 dose at 100 milligrams and spreading it out into 50 and 50, and seeing
Right.
for the same condition, even on the same person too.
Right.
In some instances, but several people have chronic pain, several people have anxiety, et cetera. So I'm able to test it out on these different people and see, like there is people get quicker and better results spreading out the doses, several times a day, as opposed to just doing it all at once, right? So and then doing the macro dose as opposed to a minimum effective dose totally does get you better results, but you don't have to stay at that macro dose to maintain the results of the condition once you overcome it. So there is possibilities to go into a lower maintenance dose after you've overcome, and that's what this graph represents. So the protocol that shows the RSO protocol wrapping up, I call that priming. Okay, so you go into this priming phase. I don't know if you could see the mouse or whatever, but you go from 0 up to 100 kind of thing, but you prime and just load and load and load. So if you're going to 400 or 600 or 1,000 milligrams, you just get to that whatever that loading phase is, and then just stay there until you've overcome the condition. So that might be 30, 45, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, and you stay there, and then you go a little bit extra. So once you think I feel really good, I think I've overcome the thing, go a couple weeks more at least, but more preferably a month more, okay, just to make sure and that everything is out. There's nothing like hiding in the wings where it's like, it's gonna like quickly overcome, to where like if you were to stop for some kind of reason, it would take you a little bit to get back, for those symptoms to come back. So once you've done that loading, then you could taper down into a maintenance phase. So if you're doing 1,000 milligrams or for your condition, like it's cancer or leukemia or glaucoma, then that taper down might be 400 milligrams, 300 milligrams, 200 milligrams. If you're doing like 400 to 200, like for like you have some kind of chronic pain or something, then you might taper down into 100 milligrams per day, and just do that. And then if you have a flare up, like for some reason, like you went on an extra hike or like did some extra activities, some kind of thing, then you could either just for preventative measures take more that day, or afterwards when you think, oh man, like you get a little flare up, of some sort, physically or mentally, then you just do a little bit more that day, because you're having that flare up, so and it's okay to do that. And then the next day, if you don't have that flare up, then you just do your regular maintenance dose. Does that make sense?
It does. The emphasis here is how important it is to overcome the condition and then stick to the maintenance, but at no point should you falter between that. Like, it's a very set protocol that one must follow in order to get the success that you're talking about here.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, so so there's an effort involved as far as just being patient, persistent, consistent. In other words, taking it daily. And just to that point too, is one of the things that I forgot to mention with when you're ramping up into the higher dosages, is that you do want to split up into a minimum of 2 doses. But when you start to get into like 600 milligrams plus, then it becomes like I'm taking 300 milligrams and 300 milligrams or 400 milligrams. That could be a lot, especially if it's all the high THC. Right. And especially if you're doing that in the daytime, and because it's going to get you high and you need to work or whatever. So splitting it up into more doses, like 3 or 4, even 5 sometimes, depending on who you are and how it affects you, it'll get you better results that way, number one. But it also is another way to minimize the high. It's helpful for people to do that for sure. It's to minimize the high, and if you're able to do it, then it's sort of like eating. You eat, like 3, maybe 4 times a day, including snacks. To just spread it out. You don't eat this one huge meal, because you're not going to absorb everything, and with the food you're going to store some fat. But you're not going to, if you just do that one huge dose, you're not going to absorb it all. But if you do smaller incremental doses to achieve that one major milligram strength for that day, then you're going to absorb more of it that way. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. It does make sense. And
Yeah. So the only other thing about that that's really important, I don't want to forget,
okay.
is that if you decide to do that, like most people, can and should be able to do the morning and night, right? That's easy. But when you start to get into 3 and 4 doses or more a day, people sometimes forget those doses, right? Like did you get your doses in? Well, yeah, I got the morning and night, but I forgot that one in the middle of the day. I'll get that next time, right? So if that happens and that starts happening like a lot, then just do it in 2 doses, no matter how much it is, because you don't want to miss that dose. So like if you were taking 300 milligrams, 100, oh, I forgot the one in the middle of the day. You just forgot 33% of your dosing.
Right.
And we just said, and we said with this, a dosing strategy that you need to take enough to get the beneficial effect.
Right.
And if you're not doing that because you're missing doses, then you might not get that beneficial effect, and you might be wondering why, because you're on paper taking the right protocol, but in reality you're not, because you're missing doses.
Correct. Correct. I wanted to dive into what to expect via the benefits. But before I do that, and we're going to dive into if there's any dangers of RSO, cannabis oils, and all that. But I did want to make something clear. You're able to provide both cannabis oils with THC and with CBD. And so when we're talking about the healing process, it's going to be obviously catered to the person's conditions and then being able to take a particular capsule of set amount. Correct? Can you just make that clear?
Okay, so you're asking the difference between the CBD and THC versions of the RSO?
Yes.
Okay, so I developed a high CBD version of the RSO, okay? And that's specifically for people that either don't want to get high, or that work and have a life and don't want to get high during the day. It's an option for them, so they take that during the day and take the high THC version at night, where they're home and safe and they could get high, or they just take the high CBD version because they don't want to get high at all.
Right.
And so it took me 2 years to figure that out. Once I figured out like the extraction process to save my eyesight and all that kind of stuff, it took me 2 years beyond that to develop a high CBD version, because it's not just grabbing any hemp plant and extracting the with the Rick Simpson, like extraction process or whatever, or the MOVIDA actual extraction process,
right,
that I've developed. It's you have to be even more thoughtful of the process, and there has to be specific cannabinoids existing within the plant. So I've never seen an actual other Rick Simpson oil that's high in CBD sold anywhere on the market. I've not seen one ever. So and especially one that can be sold to the masses, that's available all the time, which I have.
right.
I have enough to last me like 10 lifetimes, basically. It's crazy. But I stack this stuff because I can't go a day without it, and a lot of our clients can't either. So that's why I keep it in stock the way I do. But the high CBD version, it still has all the cannabinoids. So the high THC version has all the cannabinoids. There's 113 plus cannabinoids that they've identified. The THC is the one that's the most prevalent. CBD is the next, and they're like macro cannabinoids, and there's other micro cannabinoids and stuff like that. So I make sure that there's, with the high CBD version, there has to be specific detectable amounts of CBD, THC, CBC, CBG, and CBN. Okay, those 5 cannabinoids, and they have to be represented with specific percentages naturally occurring in the plant. And then once you extract the plant into the oil, they have to have certain percentages naturally occurring in that oil. In other words, if one's below the percentage, we don't add in some CBC or THC or whatever to make it match what's supposed to be in there. It has to have that, or it's not going to work, and we just sell it as that oil to somebody else and get the one that we need. And and our farmers will do that for us. They'll give us first pick because they understand that, number one, I need to save my eyesight, and that I have so many other people that I'm actually helping, for sure. Like most other companies are like, we give our stuff and we don't really know because we never hear back, or but like I help people, and I help them to develop maintenance programs and readjust protocols and stuff like that. So I know that they're helping, and they've been with me for some have been with me for over 30 years. Some clients, it's crazy. So so the high CBD version is it has that specific cannabinoid profile, and it has THC in it. It has everything in it, and it works almost the same exact way as the high THC version. Like for glaucoma, it works as good or better, and for like different things with pain and even certain cancers, it'll work better than the high THC version. The high THC version can work better than the high CBD version in certain instances, but they will still just by themselves be effective.
Correct.
Taken together, like this high CBD version in the day, high THC version in the evening, that is the ultimate way to go.
Yeah.
But there's also there's financial considerations, besides just your desire to do it, so there's a bunch of different things. But does that answer your question?
It perfectly. And I think it's important that people know that you offer both, because there's been people that are asking. So it is paramount that we let them know that you do the whole gambit. You oversee all of it. So, I mean, it's a win-win. I've been a client for at least 5 years. So yeah, same with my cat as well, which we'll get into. But we have the pet CBD right there.
The furry.
Yeah. What can one of your clients expect as far as benefits to your product?
Okay, so you're with both versions, you're going to get a better sleep, right? And being able to fall asleep. Most people don't have trouble falling asleep. Some people do, but most people have the trouble they have is staying asleep, and it helps with that. And especially one of the things it does is takes away pain, and a lot of people, they'll roll over and they'll cause their knee or their ankle, their shoulder, whatever, will make them wince in pain, and it wakes them up. They don't realize that's what woke them up, but that's why. And it helps to alleviate, especially the high CBD version helps to alleviate pain, and so it helps them to stay asleep during that. But yeah, so getting better sleep, increasing appetite, especially for cancer patients, because they lose their appetite a lot. And for people that want that and need that, sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes it's better to fast, but sometimes you do need to eat. You'll reduce and oftentimes eliminate pain. You build your immune system, because like people's immune systems are often compromised, and that's why they go into sickness and dis-ease processes. So it helps to build your immune system, and so to make your body able to overcome conditions. And then like on the mental side, it reduces stress, anxiety, depression, and panic attacks. And then it increases confidence, clarity, and mental recall, right? And then it could help you to overcome a variety of conditions.
All right, well, let's look at the opposite side. Are there any dangers with RSO/cannabis oil?
Okay, you can get high, but that's not a danger. And I'll talk about what to expect with getting high. Yep. But as far as like side effects and things like that, and the danger that way, nobody's ever been killed on cannabis, like in all the thousands of years, right? And there's not like this certain amount you can take that will kill you. And I like to say that it doesn't have side effects; it has side benefits, right? Yeah, so the getting high, the high THC version, like the high CBD version, you don't have to worry about that part. So it just acts all that, and you just take it and reap the benefits and move on with your day. So if getting high is a concern for you, then just get the high CBD version, and then later on you can sort of test and put your toe in the water and take a little bit at night before you go to bed or whatever. But you will get really high. And like we said, that's one of the reasons why you start off small. So if you do get super high, it won't last a long time, and you're able to, overcome that. The high, it'll come on as soon as like 15 minutes, but it could take as long as 45 minutes. And I've even taken it where like it's taken like an hour and a half to 2 hours to really kick in, to where like when I first started taking it, and I was getting affected hardcore, because nowadays I don't get as affected, because it's a decade later. But like when I was in my first year of taking it, I remember like one time I waited like an hour and a half. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm gonna go to the bank, because I need to make a deposit for my business before the morning. And I went to the bank, and then I hopped in my car to go home, and all of a sudden, like it was like a highway. Like I wasn't moving, but everything else was. I was like, holy shit! Like so it's interesting. You
Don't
don't
go to
know
the
how it's
bank.
gonna work. Yeah, from time to time, But yeah, so you'll sleep very, very well though, because it helps you to just fall asleep and stay asleep, and you'll get and like getting high, you'll drift off into sleep, whatever. But when you wake up in the morning, it is sort of almost you could almost have like a weed hangover, for lack of a better term,
Really?
where you still feel a little lethargic or sleepy, and like almost like you have sort of like lead in your shoes or something,
Gotcha.
because and it goes away, as you start to wake up a little,
Right.
and stuff. But it's just that you're so relaxed that your body just doesn't want to wake up because it's healing. When you
Right.
sleep and when you get into deep sleep, and when the RSO puts you on the couch, you call that couch lock, which is another thing that could happen. That lead in the shoe kind of a thing, where you're just like,
Right.
I'm just gonna hang out on the couch right here for a little bit. That's what your body, all the energy is going to healing,
Right.
and it doesn't want you to move around, right?
Right.
So just listen to your body when that's happening, and you're fine. And then it can make you like happy, silly, and hungry.
And hungry. Well, I was going to ask, how do you minimize the high? I guess food, obviously, but is it true that we can take your CBD as well then to minimize it?
Yeah, so to minimize the high, you follow that MOVIDA protocol,
Yeah.
that makes you ramp up slowly, and that'll help to minimize the high. Like you said, taking that 1,000 milligrams all at once will blast you, but doing this helps out a lot. And because it helps you to build a tolerance, it helps you get used to feeling high, right? Because many people are not used to that head change, and then they go, "What's going on?" And then they put themselves into a panic attack.
Right.
And it's like a self-induced heart rate, elevating, and all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't have to happen if you just sort of get used to that. Oh, this is what's going on, and I just need to ride this out. Whether you enjoy it or not, you could learn to enjoy it, but whether you enjoy it or not, you just understand that it only happens for a period of time. I'm doing this for a purpose that's beneficial to my health, and
Right.
and it's gonna be gone. I'll get on with my day, right?
Right.
And then but if you do get like where it just blasts you out, because the RSO, the high THC one, you could be taking the same amount, and one day you get high, but you're able to handle it, and the next day off that same amount, just your body chemistry is different, you ate different, whatever it may be, you just get crazy blasted, and like, oh my god, I have to talk to my in-laws or whatever, like what do I do? And what we found, because we used to do a lot of shows in person with our crew, and we had some like younger guys like that were helping out with extraction and stuff like that, and learning the process, and we would hand out like dab hits, and we would hand out RSO and stuff to all the people, and they would take dab hits, they would take the RSO with them, and then they would just get blasted out of their minds and
Gee.
not be able to talk to people, and they're like, man, like we got to figure out how to bring them back down,
Right.
and so we figured out that taking the pure crystalline CBD, like what you that bottle that you raised up,
Yep.
helps to overcome that, to bring you down. Either can, in some instances it can eliminate the high, but in others it'll just bring it down to where it's not crazy out of control and it's
Right.
tolerable, and you can function and talk to people and stuff, and
Right.
we found that the dose for that was right around 30 to 50 milligrams. So taking 50 milligrams, and then sometimes people need to take up to 100. So either a 50 milligram or 100 milligram, depending on how you feel, is what I would do
Right.
if you are just experiencing craziness with it, because it is possible.
I think it's important to note that if you're very curious and you want to buy MOVIDA oils and you have the option of THC or CBD, for those, I have friends of mine that are interested, but they're like, I don't want to get high yet. I'm scared. I don't understand. So again, there's a CBD version of that. And then for the THC version, can you kind of dive into getting high versus healing and the big difference between that?
Okay, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, yeah, a lot of people with the THC version, they equate getting high with the healing, right? And then that's why a lot of people don't want to try the CBD version because it
Right.
doesn't get you high, and they think, oh, it doesn't have any THC. They just make all these assumptions about it when they don't really know what they're talking about. But the THC version, the getting high and the healing are two separate things, because the cannabinoids are very resilient and they'll stay active, even at certain temperatures. They might get converted into other things, from like THC can get converted to CBN or whatever, but they're pretty resilient. The other components can get burned out, right?
Right.
And that's what happened when I mentioned earlier about the extractors in San Diego when they started making bad product. I was still getting high,
Right.
but I was going blind. So it took me a while to figure out that it was the oil that was bad because I was still getting high. So that's also how I figured out that the high and healing are two separate things. So because I didn't know that until that point. So what they were doing was they were burning out the other therapeutic qualities, so that entourage effect where the cannabinoids, the isoflavones, the flavonoids, etc., the phytonutrients within the plant couldn't all work in concert together because some of them were destroyed, right?
Yeah.
And there's certain conditions that don't need all of them, like chronic pain and anxiety, stress, depression. They don't need all of that, but there's certain ones like cancer and leukemia and MS and like tremors and glaucoma that need all of those components.
Right.
That's why other extraction processes, like with other solvents, don't work either. So the getting high, you can still get high if those other components are burned out, but if they're active, you'll get high too. That's why you have to have a like extractor or a company that you're working with that actually knows what they're doing and takes care and understands that it's the whole of the plant, not just the cannabinoids
Right.
that are actually doing the work of the RSO. And that's why RSO works better than like a distillate or any other kind of oils that you find, in a dispensary or something like that.
And this is why I call you the Nikola Tesla of cannabis oil, because you know your shit, man. You know your shit. Al, where can we get MOVIDA oils? Where can someone that is curious find you, get a hold of you, all of the above?
Yeah, so definitely you could from our myfitlife.net website, you could schedule a consultation if you have questions about like your condition, how much to take, and all that kind of stuff. We help develop protocols, or put you on a protocol, because we develop protocols with for a bunch of different conditions. Almost every condition that people come to me for. These days there isn't one usually that we don't have one for, and there's different ranges. So that we showed with that other graphic, like 200 to 400 or 600 to 1,000. So that's where the consultations are sort of helpful, because we can give the protocol within these ranges. But it's really intuitive. You sort of know how much to. You sort of know when it's helping you, right?
Right.
And okay, this is where I need to be, or I'm doing 200. I feel good. Okay, I'm going to stay there. I feel good, but I think I need a little more. Then I'm going to do a little more.
Right.
300. I feel good here. I'm going to stop there, and that's my. And that's where I need to be. So they do a consultation. You don't have to, but they're free and stuff like that. So you can get the high CBD, high THC RSO generally from us, depending on where you live. And if you're not able to get it from us, then I'm usually able to recommend a viable source for you. So you don't have to wonder or go out into the wild and search on your own.
Right. Right. So just so everyone knows too, Al has done multiple videos on RSO, FECO, cannabis oil, and so this isn't the only one that is available. In fact, he just had one. How many years ago was it, Al, that got the 30,000 views?
Oh, the video just is 1 year old, and it reached 30,000 views. Yep. So a little bit ago.
It's the hot topic. People are wanting to know about this.
Yeah,
Do you have anything you want to say about that?
that one's on the Rick Simpson protocol, you know,
Yeah.
and on how to take it, and it's reached 30,000 views. And then I have another one on how to handle the high of of the MOVIDA oils or RSO, and that one has like 21,000 views. And there's several videos that have several thousand views on there, so it is a hot topic. And you just go to youtube.com/myfitlife to view those. You know, click on the videos tab, and you'll see them all there. And I even have ones that talk about how to overcome specific conditions, like why the conditions come in, like chronic pain, you know, and what it is and how to overcome it, you know, with cannabis oils, and even some additional supplements that can help with it too, etc. One thing that I would like to do is sort of show what the consistency of rock RSO or MOVIDA oils, because there's different people that see it. And I had a chiropractor I was talking with the other day, and he said that he purchased some from one of the supposedly reputable sources in Oregon, and said it was really runny. And when it's runny and watery, it usually means that it has a solvent in it still, you know. And if they're using ethanol, and especially a food grade ethanol like we use, you know, it's not going to kill you. The other solvents will, like the CO2 and the butane and all that kind of stuff, but the ethanol won't. But it's not as effective that way, and it hasn't been fully cured that way, so it's not going to have the benefit, you know. And then you're not getting the as much as you think, because part of it's solvent, you know. So if it's runny, it should not be that way. So I have like, let me pull out this thing real quick. All right, make this bigger. So the syringe is going to have the raw oil in it. Remember, the tinctures and the capsules will not. So a lot of times that a technique to get the oil out too is when you use a syringe, because like the gram is all the way over here. It's a full syringe, so I've used about half of it. So some may have dried up in the tip here, so just pressing it might be hard, and when I break through, more might come out than I want, right? Especially if I'm at the beginning stages and trying to do 100 milligrams or something, right? So you can't put it back in, so you either have to take that and get super high, which is okay, or waste it, you know, which you do not want to do. It's like it's more valuable than gold to me. So to mitigate that, this little tip is to put your fingers. There's like a little flanged end. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little flanged end at the bottom, and you put your fingertip and thumb there, and then like sort of grab onto this and put your middle finger on the flange at the bottom of the plunger, and just sort of like, so I have my thumb and forefinger there, and just sort of like pull back a little bit until you feel it, and until you feel it pull, and it sort of pulls it down with it, and it breaks that seal. So when you come back forward, it'll come back forward easier, and you won't have to like so you'll be able to put out your amount. So let me see if I can do this here. All right, so if you look, it's not just falling out. It's like super thick, boom, you know, right there. And so it has like density and substance to it, right? So you want that density and substance in there.
How many milligrams is that?
That right there is about like 200 milligrams.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was on the 4, and now it's on the right about the 2.
Okay.
Yep. So that's about 200 milligrams. And this is actually a way that you could actually do it too. You know, we were saying that you could put it on wax paper or something. This is a piece of dried mango because that's all I had available before the video or whatever. But you can put it on wax paper, like I said, put it in the refrigerator. It hardens up, and you just peel it off and put it down. Or you can put it on something like this, or on a piece of bread, and just eat that. You know, like just like.
Dun.
Yeah, it's dried fruit, so you got to chew it a little bit, but. But it has like an earthy taste, you know, and that you just take your dose that way. And then there's a little bit sticking out, right? So you could also do that thing where you put the thumb and forefinger to the flange, and then put your middle finger there, right? And then just pull back a little bit. and then it
So
goes
you can
in.
save it. Okay, gotcha.
That's how it goes in. So yeah, otherwise there's a cap that you put on and it'll just, spill everywhere. So you're saving it that way, and then it sort of helps prevent that little seal thing too, So it makes it easier to do that pullback when you come do it the next time. It's just little things that I've learned along the way after doing it for 10 years,
When you're trying to save the product, you don't want it to go to waste. It makes sense.
Yeah, but were you able to see that really good enough? Like when I showed it coming out, like how it has consistency to it.
Yes.
Right on. Awesome.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes. Well, that's everything on my end. Is there anything else you want to? I mean, I've learned so much. Every time we talk about any topic that has to do with cannabis, you just blow me out of the water with information. I'm good. I have a lot to digest. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Yeah. If you have a condition that you need to overcome, then there is hope, and just reach out. If you just continuously do research, and do that analysis by paralysis kind of thing, then that doesn't do you any good, and you'll just get worse and worse and worse. And especially with people like with cancer and hardcore things like that, I hear them like, I'm going to wait for that, or I'm going on vacation next week, and I think I'll do it after I come back. Or like, no, like every day with these hardcore conditions, like glaucoma, if you're starting to lose your eyesight, it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's going to be harder to come back.
Right.
Like you, be proactive about your condition. It's going to take effort to overcome it and effort to maintain the results. Right. But it can happen, and it's simple. It's not always easy, but it's a simple process as long as you follow somebody's guidance that knows what they're doing, right? But so reach out to us. We know what we're doing, and get a free consultation. There's a tab on our website that says consultation. You click on it and just schedule it right there. From the website, there's links in the show notes below this. But just be proactive. Get out there. Do not be scared. If you're concerned about getting high, we have a high CBD version that's specifically for you, right? That's who it was made for. That's pretty much it.
That's everything. It's perfect, Al. Thank you so much.
Right on. Okay, Cannabis Friends, that concludes this episode of Cannabis Friends and 420 Buds. Be sure to leave any questions or comments below and subscribe to our channel if you enjoy this type of content. Reach out to support@myfitlife.net or schedule a complimentary call if you have questions about RSO, how much to take, how to take it, what condition, etc. So note, we are currently only working with clients in the United States. This is Al Morenton.
And Megan Hall.
And we are the hosts of Cannabis Friends and 420 Buds. I hope you have a beautiful day. Peace.